I want to take you through some applications of the topic that we just covered, which was translating to linear functions. And to make it a little bit easier for you, I'm going to record each of the applications as a separate video so that you can use the playlist function to skip from one to the next so that you can focus on whichever ones you need help with. So our first one is consecutive integers. So it's important to understand what a consecutive integer is and then how we can actually model the equation. And a consecutive integer means in a row. Now, we already talked about integers and how they're positive and negative whole numbers. So no decimals, no fractions. Consecutive means in a row. So if I'm dealing with just regular consecutive numbers, like 5, 6, 7, 8, etc., those are all a distance of 1 apart. Whereas a consecutive even integer, for instance, would be like 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Those are all 2 away from each other. So if I said your first even integer was 16, you would have to add 2 to get to 18. Same thing happens when we're dealing with odd integers, which is what our first question is about. So we're dealing with consecutive odd integers. So if I said the first one was 17, you'd have to add 2 to get to 19, etc. Now, the reason I took you through that is because in questions like this, it's pretty important for us to define our variables. So I'm going to define x to be my first integer, so my first odd integer, which means the next consecutive odd integer would be 2 more than that. X plus 2 is my second odd integer. Now, that's going to be helpful because now I'm going to come over here and I'm going to write an equation dealing with my first and my second odd integers. Now, this says 3 times the sum. So we've talked about the sum already. So 3 times the sum would mean I'm going to be adding some things together in parentheses. So 3 times the sum, what am I taking the sum of? The 2 consecutive odd integers. That's these 2 that we just came up with. So x is the first and x plus 2 is the second. So common mistake is people just say 3 times the quantity of x plus 2. This is my first number. This is my second number. So 3 times the sum of these 2 values is 516. So here's our new equation. So this part was very important for us when we were writing the equation. Now it's just simple algebra. So I'm going to follow my order of operations, which says combine like terms in the parentheses first. Now there's a possibility here to just divide each side by 3. I'm not going to do that because many people get confused by that. So I'm going to go ahead and distribute. The 3 times the 2x is 6x, and the 3 times the 2 is 6. I'm going to subtract 6 from each side to get 6x equals 510. And then I'm going to divide by 6, and I'm running out of room. But when I divide by 6 on each side, I get 85. Now, a lot of us get to the answer and then think that we're done. But remember that this is a story problem, and in story problems, it's very important that you go back and you read the question to make sure you've answered it. The question says, find the integers, which means I have to find both of the integers. So I'm going to say the integers are 85, which was x. Now remember, my next one was 2 more than that, which would be 87. So the integers are 85 and 87. Now remember, every time you have a blue question, those are ones I would like you to try on your own first and then press play to see how you did. So go ahead and do that now. Now, 4 times the sum of 3 consecutive integers is 264. So again, it's important here that I define my variable. I'm going to say that x is my first number. Now notice on this one, it's just 3 consecutive integers. Up here we were dealing with odd integers, which make them 2 units away from each other. Here they're just 1 unit. So whatever my first number is, I'm just going to add 1 to that to get to my second number, because that's the next integer. Now I need 3 of them, so now I need 1 more than x plus 1. So x plus 1 plus 1, which is x plus 2. 2 more than my original, which is my third number. So now I've defined all 3 of my numbers, and I'm going to go ahead and write the function now. So 4 times the sum. So again, it's 4 and then parentheses. The sum of the first number plus the second number plus the third number equals or is 264. So that's my new equation. And now I'm going to combine like terms within the parentheses. So I have three x's, 1, 2, 3, and then I have plus 1 and plus 2, which is plus 3. So again, I'm just combining like terms in the parentheses. Now I'm going to distribute. Again, you have the option on this step of dividing each side by 4, which would just give me 3x plus 3 equals whatever 264 divided by 4 is. Instead, I'm going to go ahead and distribute. So 12x plus 12, again, I've distributed the 4 by multiplication, equals 264. And then you're going to subtract 12 from each side to get 12x equals 252. I'm going to divide by 12 to get x equals 21. Okay. So x equals 21. Now remember, I'm looking for all three numbers. So the first number is 21. The second number is 22. The third number is 23. It's a story problem, so we really should write our sentence. The three integers are 21, 22, and 23.